Next, integration. Adopting an integrated approach. Ano ba ibig sabihin ng integrated approach? Integrated approach meaning unified control. Everybody, each sector has a control over tourism and avoid overdependence on tourism. Why? Kasi kapag ang country naging overdependent sa tourism, if tourism industry somehow fails, then the economy of that country will fail also. For example, if Philippines has been so independent with tourism, has been so dependent to tourism, probably ngayon wala na tayong pera. However, though totoo na malaking factor or malaking part of the whole pie ang tourism when it comes to economic contribution, pero still, we are not over-dependent with tourism. We still have agriculture. We still have some natural resources that we import to other countries. So that's integration. Next principle would be equitable distribution. This ensures that tourism development strategies focus on achieving a more equitable distribution of wealth and services. Growth alone is not enough. So, equitable distribution, yung na-mention ko kanina, yung mayaman, sila lang yung mayaman, yung mahirap, lalo silang humihirap or they stay the same. In equitable distribution, we are eliminating that principle. Ibig sabihin, if mahirap ka, you still have an equal chance para makaangat. Equal chance just like yung mga mayayaman ng mga tao or mayayaman ng family. So you are given equal chances. Through, of course, less or no corruption at all. Acting locally, focusing action at a local destination level within the context of supportive national policies. So, one great principle under acting locally would be the community-based tourism. In Sagada, for example, in Sagada, you cannot acquire a piece of land in Sagada if you are not a resident of Sagada. So that is a good, that is a good practice in that specific place. Why? Kasi only people from Sagada could directly affect the economy of Sagada. So that's acting locally through community-based tourism. Ang ginagawa mo sa acting locally is you are including yung opinion, suggestion, recommendation of the local people in developing a specific place. Kasi one negative example is that what happened to Boracay. Boracay is originally Boracay Island is owned by AITAS. But right now, AITAS, it looks like they don't even have the right to own a land. They are actually the slaves of Boracay. Na ngayon, sinusubukang ibalik ng Department of Tourism yung power ng AITA over yung mga available na lands pa where they originally residing. So next, retention, reducing leakages from the local economy and building linkages within it. Focusing on the very long tourism supply chain. I-explain ko muna yung minimension ko din kanina na injection and leakages. So, wala tayong pen dito. For example, So, gamitin natin to. So, I will explain to you the concept of leakages and injection to Philippine economy. Let's just say this circle here is the total economy of the Philippines. Ang tinatawag nating leakages are money that goes out to the circle of Philippine economy. Ito yung mga pera na ibinabayad natin sa ibang countries. Ang injection naman, so ito ang leakage. That is leakage. Ay, pangit ng L. Ang injection naman, yan yung pera na naipapasok sa Philippine economy from other countries. And that is what we call injection. So now let's go back here. Retention, let us reduce leakages by how? Supporting local products. Meron ng mga hotels that are actually using local products for their amenities, like yung mga toothbrush, yung mga toothpaste, mga ganon. They are actually using local products which are found here in the Philippines to reduce leakages. So next principle is viability, maintaining sound financial discipline. Sound financial discipline meaning wala kang natatapakang tribe, wala kang natatapakang law, wala kang natatapakang regulations or policies of a specific destination. And assessing the viability of all actions taken. One example of this is yung gustong patayuan noon, ang tagal ng issue nito sa Baguio City. Baguio City is the summer capital of the Philippines, and it is dubbed to be the home of one of the most respectful people. Kasi if dun ka sa Baguio, if nasa Baguio ka, if the authorities will tell you do not go there, Baguio locals will really not go there. So very disciplined people talaga sila. So there was a corporation or a company who wants to put up a casino in Baguio. Yung talagang large scale casino. Ang nangyari, the government of Baguio is on the verge of deciding already. Ang nangyari, hinarang ng mga locals. Kasi they believe that if you will put up a large-scale casino here in Baguio City, it will affect the culture, the attitude or the behavior of the locals here in Baguio. So, what happened? The government of Baguio City made a sound financial discipline decision. So, they have turned down that specific investment, though it will give Baguio City government a huge amount of income. Still, ang pinili nila is yung hindi sila makakatapak ng kahit anong cultural or social or legal policies. Next, empowerment, creating conditions to empower and enable the poor to have access to information and influence and take decisions. Again, we will go back to acting locally, empowerment that is under community-based tourism. For example, if here in Nueva Vizcaya, dun sa Lower Magat Ecotourism Park, kung mapapansin nyo, most of dun sa mga empleyado na nagtatrabaho sa LMETP, most of them, or not, if not most of them, all of them, are from Jodi. So they are resident of that specific municipality. So they run, though it's a public-owned ecotourism park, still, ang nagpapatakbo or nangangalaga or nagme-maintain sa LMETP mostly are people from the community. So they are empowered also. Next, commitment. Planning, action, and application of resources for the long term. Hindi sapat, it's not enough to have plans. Plans should be executed for it to be enough. I repeat, it is not enough to have plans. Execution of the plans will make your actions enough. So, very simple principle lang naman yan. If you are really committed to addressing poverty through tourism, then whatever is planned, because most likely plans are ideals. Kung ano yung nasa plano, you will do your best, you will exert your best effort to make that plan a reality. Next, hindi siya naka-bold, so let's make it bold. Next, human rights. Removing all forms of discrimination against people working or seeking to work in tourism and eliminating any exploitation, particularly against women and children. This is very common. So I don't need to give example already under this circumstances. What I want to use as an example would be, ever heard of the deaf and mute tour guide? Yung PP at Bingi na tour guide? Yes, there is. There is such thing as deaf and mute tour guide. That is in Intramuros. Though dun lang sila sa Intramuros. At least, yung mga capable of being a tour guide who are physically challenged people, yung PP at Bingi, at least they are given equal chance to contribute also to the tourism industry. So, they also cater to deaf and mute tourists. So, makikita ninyo, there is no discrimination there. Also, let's stop discriminating LGBTQ plus community in hiring employees for specific companies. And last, monitoring, developing simple indicators and systems to measure the impact of tourism on poverty. So that's monitoring. This is very important para makita mo if your plans, your programs, your projects are actually contributing in poverty alleviation or poverty reduction. So that's it. You just have to do your activity. So for your activity, I will just discuss this one. Poverty and tourism in the Philippines. Direction, general direction. Make a reflection paper by following the instructions or no. Make a reflection paper using the guide questions below. So, ang reflection paper is in paragraph form. Hindi porket naka 1, 2, 3 ito is i-bullet type nyo din siya or i-1, 2, 3 nyo din. No. These 3 questions are just guide questions for you to create your own reflection paper. So, most probably, the first few paragraphs would talk about how is Philippines at the start of tourism industry in the country. Ano ang status or ano ang kondisyon dito sa Philippines bago mag-start ang tourism industry in the country that was in early 1950s. Then the next succeeding paragraphs would talk about, for you, what was the best tourism project Philippines has put up and under whose administration or sino yung presidente na nakaupo during that project. So for that would be yung mga succeeding paragraphs. And for the several few paragraphs of your reflection paper, we'll talk about how did Philippines use tourism industry to fight poverty. Please do not just copy-paste kung ano yung nandito sa module. You may use yung mga nandito sa module, but you have to have your own input of ideas. Ayoko ng copy-paste po. So again, these questions are just guides for you to make your reflection paper, which should be in a paragraph form. You may encode it or you may manually write it in a piece of paper, then submit an e-copy of your output via Edmodo. If magre-resort kayo to written, make sure na readable yung penmanship niyo para hindi ako mahirapan. Or kaya kapag readable nga, make sure na clear din yung pagkakapicture nyo and maliwanag siya, yung wag naman yung sobrang dilim kasi mahihirapan akong basahin yun. Again, submit it in Edmodo only kasi ang pwedeng mangyari kapag pinipm nyo or nilalagay nyo sa GC, matatabunan yan. Baka hindi ko ma-check, ma-zero kayo sa activity. So, after you do this activity, actually this is due on Friday at 7 p.m. This is due. Learning activity, activity number 1, due on Friday. Due on Friday, 7 p.m. For your assignment naman, wala kayong assignment for this one. I was not able to delete this one. And for your evaluation, you will have a quiz. You will have a quiz via Edmodo. I-message or magdadrop na lang ako ng announcement doon sa GC natin kung kailan available yung quiz ninyo. So that's it for this chapter. Again, this chapter is entitled Tourism and Poverty Alleviation.